Welcome back to Norfolk Notables. I'm Anne-Marie Battistone. I was very persistent with my guest today, and she's a very busy woman, and I was thrilled when I finally got the email that she was able to come on. So I'm really pleased to welcome Lori Beck. She's the founder and artistic director of Roundabout Productions. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm delighted to have you. Now, I'm curious. You started out singing.
Yes, I've been doing shows of one kind or another since I was 11 years old. But I have my degree in musical theater and directing from the Boston Conservatory.
Oh.
So I did a lot of singing, a lot of acting, a lot of dancing. Maybe not my best talent. So yeah, it was a mix.
So how did you make that leap to directing?
Well, I minored in directing in school, so I was always interested. And I started directing when, well, I walked into the Norfolk Grange Hall and I said, oh my goodness, what a gorgeous little space. Wouldn't A Christmas Carol be perfect here? And I just got a bee in my bonnet over it, and I decided I wanted to make it happen. And at that point, I had been away from theater for quite a while. I have a daughter, and she was young, and so I was doing that for a decade before that. So in 2016, I found the Grange, and I said, "What a great space!" And
I saw it, and I was said to someone was said they were. I said, "How in the world? There's no wings. There's no. I mean, how are they going to do that?"
We had actors running around the building.
I saw it. I thought you really was very creative the way you used the space. You know. Now, what? So was your first production? Now, so is that when you founded Roundabout Productions?
Well, we started out as theater at the Grange, and we did one season of 5 productions.
Oh, you did?
At the Grange, yeah. We did, well, there was Christmas Carol at the end of 2016, and then 3 more shows, so it's 4 at the Grange. And scheduling got difficult, and it was just, we were growing too fast. We couldn't put up sets, and it just wasn't fair to the space. It wasn't fair to the people using the space. So we started looking for a new home. And about that time, Bob Hickey at the Marilyn Rodman Performing Arts Center was getting going at what used to be the Orpheum in Foxborough. And he was looking for an adult theater company as opposed to the kids' theaters, which he already had a bunch of.
Oh, how great for you,
right.
though.
So it was complete kismet, and that was January of 2018.
So now, did you have, I'm just going back to those productions at the Grange, did you have a sandwich? Because I would have gone to, I don't remember seeing anything about those other ones.
We did. We had
just
a
in the
little
paper,
sandwich board on the corner next to the Grange and the school driveway. Yes. We had that out there. We were in the paper, the Rentham, Plainville, Norfolk paper a few times.
Well, I'm sorry that I missed those.
Yeah, they were fun. They were, in fact, we're revisiting one of those original productions in September. We'll be doing The Importance of Being Earnest.
Really? Yeah. Now, just going back to that, the one that I saw. So, was it difficult for you to block that out
at the
Grange?
It took some rethinking because, as you know, the Grange just has a very high, narrow little stage area because it was originally built as a church.
Right.
It wasn't meant for people running around on it. So we had to plan the space so that actors could move through the house and around the audience.
Yeah.
And you're right, there are no wings. There are those 2 little vestibules. So we had actors squashed in there. And if an actor had to leave on stage right and re-enter on stage left, they would actually have to go out
outside.
The door, run around through the snow, and come in the other side. So that was an adventure.
Now, who did the costumes for that? I thought they were very creative also. I thought they were, really, some of them were just,
well, thank you.
Just sort of magical.
I did part of them. A good friend of mine and longtime Norfolk resident, Tina Kenny, she did a lot of them, especially for that first production. She was also the ghost of Christmas Present, that one.
Now, is she a seamstress by trade or?
Partially. Mm-hmm. She is the production of the stage and production manager for King Richard's Fair and Carver.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Now, I'm just curious to ask you about being a director, because I know that I often hear about that relationship with the actor. And where do you go when there's a difference of opinion as to how that should be played?
The director always wins. No.
Because you don't do drama, though. You're doing musical, am I
No,
right?
No, in fact, we have only done one show that could be called a musical, and that was a vaudeville last summer. Everything else has been drama.
Oh, okay.
I would love to put up a musical, but they're extremely expensive.
Oh, yes.
Not only the rights, but the musicians and a music director and a choreographer. And the costumes. It's just a much more complicated procedure all around. So we've been doing plays, which are great.
So I interjected with that because I would imagine that you might have more of a difference of interpretation in drama.
You sometimes do, but it's a collaborative thing. I want the input of my actors, and if the actor makes a choice and it's a valid choice, I'll go with it. That's their job. As a director, it's not my job to move people around like chessmen. It's, we were shaping an event rather than my dictating the event, if that makes sense.
So how does that actually work? I mean, you have the readings, but I've often, I watch a lot of films, and they talk about it's the direction rather than this, rather than that. And so what is that? What is it that direction really amounts to?
Well, it's guiding an actor. I mean, obviously, when I start to work on a play, I have a vision for that play. I have what I think the playwright meant to put out on the stage. But all these other actors are coming in with their own ideas. So it's really a merging and a blending of ideas. Obviously, I block the scene. I say, you're going to be here. I need you to be here by that line. Don't go so fast, or go faster. Or I sort of put a framework around the script.
Does that start with the reading?
Yes, absolutely. You need to understand the content before you can fill it as an actor. You need to be very familiar with it, and that's why it's always more difficult to work with actors when they don't know their lines.
Oh, well.
But I mean, a lot of actors will spend a long time with the script in their hand. And
and that handicaps them, doesn't it?
It does, because if you've got complicated physical blocking, you've always got one hand out of commission. And your attention is divided, because as an actor, I need you to be talking and listening to the person you're with. I mean, otherwise I say this to actors all the time, you're just playing line tennis. You're just batting cues back and forth rather than engaging in a moment. And yes, the words are not your own as the actor, but you have to make them your own. Mm-hmm. You have to hear what's coming to you as if you've never heard it before. Mm-hmm. And you have to respond as if you've never said those words before. So it's a funny thing, this being in the moment.
It is indeed.
Yeah, you really, in a way, you're suspending all of that disbelief and allowing yourself to experience it new every time.
When someone's, say, watching film or a play, is there a way for the viewer to tease out what the director is responsible for, as opposed to?
In other words, to watch something and say, this is what I think the director had in mind?
Or should have done, or...
Oh, well, everybody always second guesses directors. Yeah, you can kind of say, well, you're watching a movie and you're seeing, well, this character is lit in a certain way, or I can see that there's another character in the rear of the shot.
So you have to you direct the lighting as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I have help. I have great lighting designers around me, but I say, no, I need this person isolated in the light, or I'd like that to be a little more blue, or whatever I think suits that moment in the play.
So there's a whole plethora of things that you have to deal with. For example, like now with the sets. Now, do you have a designer, or do you do that yourself, or do you collaborate with somebody and tell them what?
It's all of that. we've had designers, and sometimes designers flake out and say, "Oh, I've got a better offer. I can't do your show." So it's, again, community theater especially is a hugely collaborative effort. It could never happen without the input of a lot of different people. It's always nice to have someone and say, "Here, make me a set. These are the things I want," but it never works out that way.
So what do you end up having to do?
Well, we spent all last weekend
Going
building
props
flats at the Orpheum. We build it. We buy the lumber. We build the sets. We find the props. It's all, yeah.
So what do you say is the time that goes into it before it actually goes on?
Well, my rehearsal processes generally tend to last about 9 to 12 weeks. That's average. I'm usually thinking about a production as far in advance of that as I can, but we also do 4 productions a year at the Orpheum, so they do back right up onto each other. And
so now the one that you're doing now, I think we have some pictures of some of the actors. Now, what is this one that's coming up that we have some stills of?
This is Ken Ludwig's The Games Afoot, or Homes for the Holidays. It is a very funny murder mystery farce, and it centers around William Gillette, who really was a popular actor in the 20s and 30s, and he made the role of Sherlock Holmes famous on the American stage.
Oh.
He has a castle in Connecticut called Gillette Castle, and the play takes place in that castle.
And how many people are in that show?
8. There's 8 in the cast, yes.
So that makes it a lot easier for you, doesn't it? Than having...
I prefer a smaller cast. A larger cast tends to be kind of like herding cats sometimes. I mean, you've got loads of people with different schedules and different conflicts, and trying to get them all in one place is difficult. But there's like we did the Crucible last fall, and that's a big cast. That's like 19 people, 18 people. And that just went beautifully, So I guess it depends a lot on the play.
Now, does anyone finance this for you, or do you because you need some money up front?
Yeah. Well,
so that's not too nosy a question.
No, it's fine. My mother passed away early in 2016, and so I had a little money from that, and I saw the Grange, and I said, I want to do this. I think my mom would like that. And that was the seed of it. And I'm not in this to make money. Basically, if one show finances the next, I'm doing good.
Now, have you had an occasion where somebody has dropped out? What have you done in those? And
yes.
Is that the hardest part?
It's terrifying. As I said, we did the Crucible last fall, and 6 days before we opened, the woman playing Tituba said, I have an offer, another theater company out of state, and I'm leaving. It's hard because I don't have contracts with people. They give me their time. We put in this time together. We're making something together.
And they're all volunteers.
Yeah. I mean, we all are, we're doing it because we love it. Mm-hmm. And I was extremely lucky in that case.
Because that's an important role.
Yeah, it is a very important role. But I found someone who had done the role before, still knew the lines, was able to come in on a shoestring and get it done.
Now, how did you find this person? Through contacts?
Yeah. I put out feelers where, every contact I ever had, please, do you know anyone? And, the word spreads. So I was surprised it really only took about 2 days to find a replacement, which left us with 4 days to rehearse.
Now, what would have happened if you hadn't been able to do that? You'd have to have had somebody step in.
I'd have put somebody on the stage with the book in their hand if I had to. It would not have.
And just make it like a disclaimer at the beginning when they say the role
Yeah.
of so-and-so is.
Yeah, there was nothing else. I mean, by that time, tickets had been sold. We purchased the rights. I mean, it was do or die. You had to do it at that point.
And how have you, when somebody auditions, obviously it depends on the role, but what do you look for?
I look for fearlessness. I don't want you to come in and be constrained, I guess is a good word. I want you to come in and play and have a good time. And a lot of times my auditions include games.
How so?
Oh, theater games, like I'll give you a scenario and I'll give somebody else a scenario and say, okay, go play, just show me. Or, I'll have you walk across the stage as if you're walking uphill in a blizzard or, things like that. Basically, I want to see your mind at work. I want to see how you interpret a requirement. And I want to see that you can have fun with it, that it's not a stress, I want you to love it, basically.
Now, when you say interpret a requirement, you meant, like, for example, walking uphill in a blizzard, that sort of thing.
How does your body manifest that request?
So, what would you feel is the most difficult part of directing?
Oh, all of that business stuff.
Really?
Oh my goodness, yes.
You mean
I don't want. Yeah, when. You mean in terms of running a theater? What's the most difficult thing?
Well, I was thinking about directing.
But directing.
Well, we'll talk about the other one as well, because that's kind of interesting too.
The most difficult thing about directing is, well...
So you've got to, forgive me for interrupting, so you've already, not exactly a storybook, but you've already, I don't know if that's even the right term, for example, when they're doing, say, cartoons, and they have, is that what they call it, a storybook or some kind of
storyboard?
Yes.
You mean? I don't necessarily go that detailed. I do block out each scene, and usually, often, if I am really ahead of the game, I'll have the whole thing blocked before I go into rehearsal. Some other times I'm blocking like 2 days before that we're ready to work on that scene.
And how is the blocking done? Is it done in sections or as the movement occurs, or?
Again, every director is going to have their own process. I go through the play in sequential order, and I have my little floor plans of my set, and I draw pictures, and I draw arrows, and I make blocking patterns, and then I translate that into what the actors are doing on the stage. Now, if I tell an actor, okay, I want you to pace back and forth, so I want you going back and forth like this. And that actor says, well, I really think I'd like to sit down at this point, or I'd like to, do something else at this point. That's where the collaboration comes in. I'm always willing to listen if somebody says, I really feel like my character would do this. If it works, then we go with it, and if not, we don't. But that's kind of where my vision comes in, is that something might feel right to an actor, but it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right in terms of the overall. That's a good way to put it. A director thinks on a macro scale, whereas the actor thinks on a micro scale. When you're an actor, you're very focused on yourself, your lines, your movement, your interactions. But a director has to see the whole picture. So sometimes I will say, yeah, that's a good choice, but it's just not going to work.
So you had mentioned before business being a difficult thing to deal with, in terms of...
Oh, I just don't like it. I don't like dealing with the money. I don't like filling out forms and making applications and keeping track of people's schedules. That's probably what I do the least well.
Now, do you have to pay, is that considered like income for you, or how does that all, or is it for the theater?
Well, I have a DBA, but it's still Lori Beck
doing business
DBA. At some point, I will probably apply for nonprofit status.
Okay.
But that takes lawyers and lots of paperwork, and again, I don't like paperwork, so I haven't got around to it yet. That also requires me to have a board of directors, and
It does. Right. To oversee.
So it's a big shift in the way we've been operating.
Now, when is your next show after this one? After
the one that opens
yes.
this month, that will be the last weekend in September. September 20.
And what's that going to be?
That's the importance of being earnest.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Now, where do you post the audition notices?
We post on our Facebook page.
Okay.
Where else? We also post through the Marilyn Rodman Performing Arts Center's website and their Facebook page and their Instagram and all of that.
Now, what was the show that was the most difficult for you to put up, of the ones you've done? I mean, apart from the restrictions of the Grange.
Right. This one is proving to be difficult. Not in terms of the actors or the performances, who are all wonderful, but it's a very complicated set. It has literally a lot of moving parts, and it's a more complicated build than I have tried in the past, so fingers crossed.
By build, you mean?
Well, I don't want to give anything away, but there's a piece of the set that has to open and close by itself, and it's, we're not engineers. We're trying to figure out how to make this work. And also in a shared space, which the Orpheum is, we're certainly not the only company there.
Oh, right.
So we have to be respectful of other people's time on the stage. And that means we can't build anything permanently. We're not going to be able to put our set up until the Sunday before we open.
So how do people get used to moving with the scenes, with the sets and all? How in the world?
They don't. We approximate things. There are, bits and pieces in the stage or in the theater that we can put on the stage, and there's staircases and stuff. And say, okay, this is where the doors will be, and this is where, we'll line up a few chairs and say, this is where the couch will be. But you really have to use your imagination right up until the last minute. Shared space, it poses challenges. It's great. It's great to have those resources. The Orpheum is a fantastic place.
I'm ashamed to say I've never been in there.
Oh, there's always something going on
I
there.
know.
Literally
I drive by, see it, and I just haven't for some
Last night, while we were rehearsing on the stage, there was a banjo concert going on in their smaller space. And was it this month? Yeah, earlier this month we had a crew of pirates singing pirate sea shanties up there. There's always, literally every night, there's something going on there.
Now, let me just ask you one other question. Was there anybody that you took on as an actor that you felt was a little bit shaky, or somebody who was new to it that you felt that you felt you brought along, and that you were very pleased that they had grown under your?
Absolutely. The first person that comes to mind, his name is Mark Modena. He had never done a play before. He was Jacob Marley in my first Christmas Carol in 2016.
Oh.
And he's done almost every single show since then. He played John Proctor in The Crucible last fall. He's actually not in this one. He just played Richard the Lionhearted in The Lion in Winter. And he's come an amazing long way from never having done anything before. And there's a bunch of people like that I could name.
And is that something that the director has to really foster?
Yeah, you do. You have to take a chance on it. You have to, and again, that goes back to the audition and how fearless is that person? How willing to take a chance and willing to let their inhibitions go are they? If someone comes in and shows me that they're just game, then that makes my job a lot easier.
Right. Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. This has really been fascinating.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you. Oh, I'm so glad. And thank you for watching Norfolk Notables. My guest was founder and artistic director of Roundabout Productions, Lori Beck. Her next show is going to be the end of July.
We open July 24th.
July 24th. which will be the
Games Afoot.
the Games Afoot or Homes for the Holidays.
Yes.
Is it set at Christmas?
It is Christmas 1936.
Oh. And so if you'd like to audition or anything like that, you can go on the website. We'll put that down below at the bottom of the screen. And, take a chance.
Please come.
Well, thank you very much for watching Norfolk Notables. I'm Anne Marie Battistone. This is NCTV. Bye-bye.